Said, my name is Sarah Ogletree. I direct the Creation Care Alliance, and you all have heard from Scott Hardinieri before. You've heard from me in a different role before, but I wanted to come today, and I'm grateful to be invited today to talk a bit about what CCA is doing now. Our program has evolved a lot in the past few years and has changed, and so I'm excited to offer some of our new resources and new kind of orientations to this work to you. And I do want to offer, I have some, just so you know the content of this presentation, I have some very specific information to you all in the high country. And then I also have some more general information about our work and our program and what we do so that you can get a truly accurate picture of who we are today. And again, I'm grateful for the opportunity. So first, I like to start with just kind of the what, which was what does creation care mean? And I know that I don't know, Hope, if you all are still muted, but if anyone wants to throw anything out, what does creation care mean to you? Just throw it out there into the world. Oh, come on.
I'm thinking.
Protecting the planet.
Protecting the planet. Thanks, Chris.
Making lifestyle choices that honor creation.
Lifestyle choices, beautiful.
At many different levels, the individual level, the community level, the church level, the denomination level, the
Absolutely.
state, federal government level, the world level, the business level.
All the different implementations, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh. There's work to be done at all of those different levels. It's moon testing.
Well, all of those things are absolutely true. And I'll just, so for you to get my little definition, my definition of creation care is loving our human and non-human neighbors and working toward their thriving, which, as you would note, all of the things that you named, protecting the planet, work at these various levels of government, individual lifestyle choices versus policy changes, all of those things love our human and non-human neighbors and work toward their thriving. So I offer this broad definition to get a sense of creation care being, yes, a part of loving our planet. And then also we are a part of our planet, and creation care is a part of loving us, loving each other, and loving our non-human neighbors, and also, you know, the land, the water, our built spaces. All of us are a part of creation. So that's how I think about creation care. And then why do this work? Why ecology and faith? I know that you guys are already invested. You guys already do this work, but just a little overview of why we believe this work matters. One, environmental issues and faith values are connected. You know this. Climate change and environmental degradation mean the loss of sacred spaces. Many of us, I'm sure if I was in that room with you all and I said, how many of you find God outdoors or feel close to the divine in nature, many of you would raise your hand. That's also true for me. And growing up in these beautiful mountains that we call home, I found God as reliably, if not more reliably, out on top of a mountain than within the walls of my church building. And that's not a knock on the church. That's just a truth to my experience that God was very present to me outdoors. And so these different realities that threaten the health of God's creation also threaten that connection, threaten those moments. And that's something we want to think about. Also, climate change and environmental degradation mean human impacts that are absolutely issues that we're called to address as people of faith. So we know we see the destruction of homes and displacement and forced migration as a result of climate change and storms. We see harm to physical, emotional, and spiritual health. There is a significant rise in PTSD and mental health problems following things like a storm like Hurricane Katrina, a large hurricane, that has a real mark on people. And so how we care for people's bodies and minds, spirits, is a part of this work of creation care as well. More severe burdens on low-income communities and people of color, people living in poverty, and people who are Black and brown bear the brunt of environmental injustice. We know that. That is true due to environmental racism, and due to the location, the intentional location often of toxic industry. We think about Cancer Alley and poor and Black and brown aspects in Louisiana, That's also true in communities that are poor in North Carolina. So naming that a part of why this work is connected to our faith values. And obviously also there are impacts on wildlife, God's creatures who he called good. We also know that faith communities can create change. People of faith are well poised to create change. There's a historical precedent. If we look to the civil rights movement, if we look to all kinds of movements for change making for the good, faith communities often played a significant role. We have buildings, we have resources, we have communities that are looked to in our broader society and local community as a place to gather, as a place to go to for help. At our best, we truly can gather people and make a difference. We also have resources for lament, and Lord knows there is much to grieve as we gather right now during Lent, and think about what there is to grieve. Think about the passing of so many endangered species, thinking about the direness of climate change. And also, faith brings many, many resources for hope. And so the faith community particularly has something to offer in terms of hope, giving the movement hope, giving each other hope in the midst of hard truths. I went to App State in undergrad, just down the road from you all, and I majored in sustainable development. A wonderful program. I learned so much, and I also was in desperate need of hope because every single day I was reading and going to classes and learning about the intricacies of this problem. And there aren't clear answers. There's no, for the lack of a better term, silver bullet. And I desperately needed the buoyancy of faith and community. And it was in bringing this work in my studies, to be joined with my Christian faith that I really did find that hope. So I think the church has an incredible role to play. Faith leaders also have moral authority and courage that we need in society to say this is the right thing and to call us into it. And lastly, we are culture creators and storytellers. Faith leaders are culture creators and storytellers. People of faith are also telling the story. I think about my, Sunday school teachers and the people who raised me in the church, and they were, at their kind of most foundational role. They were telling me the story of faith, and that story shaped me to be who I am in this work today. So that matters too. And to really bring that home, there's a great quote here at the bottom of this slide that says, this is by the former director and dean of the Yale School of Forestry and Environment, Gus Speth. He said, "I used to think the top environmental problems were biodiversity loss, ecosystem collapse, and climate change. I thought that with 30 years of good science, we could address these problems, but I was wrong. The top environmental problems are selfishness, greed, and apathy, and to deal with these, we need a spiritual and cultural transformation. And we scientists don't know how to do that. So scientists need us. They know what we need to do. They have the numbers, they have the ideas, but they need us to help shift culture away from apathy and greed and selfishness and toward a communal model of how we can take care of each other and address these large problems. A world in which people and planet matter more than profit. That's what we're called to do, and the faith community has the resources to do that. So I think that's a really beautiful way of framing our work. This is also who we are. So the Creation Care Alliance is a multi-faith network. We strive to be multi-faith. We are predominantly Christian, but just get a sense of the fact that across world religions, this care of planet is shared. This value, this care for people and planet is something that is absolutely central to faith identity. This is true, Buddhism, do no harm. Islam, we share the same creation story. Humans are guardians of the planet. Judaism, the year of Jubilee, in which all debts are repaid, the land rests. There is rest for land, rest for those kind of resources that we think of, like trees and soil. The concept of tikkun olam, repairing the world, being what we're called to. And then, of course, within Christianity, which is, my tradition and the tradition that I've been trained in, there are just, I mean, countless examples of our calling to be people who care for this world and each other. Genesis 2:15 is one of my favorites to point to. Ellen Davis at Duke Divinity School, who's an Old Testament scholar, points to this phrase or this verse often, which is, the Lord God took the human and placed them in the garden to till it and keep it. Till and keep in Hebrew is avad and shamar, which can also be translated as to preserve and protect or serve and protect. So the Lord God took the human and placed them in the garden, this earth, to serve and protect it. And she refers to this as our first human job description, that we are here to serve and protect the world. Also, the word human in Hebrew is Adam. The word for soil is Adamah. We are soil creatures, soil people. We come from soil, dust to dust, right? We've been talking about this in Lent. But we are of earth, made of earth, not separate from it. And a part of God's plan is for us to be caring for this world that we are a part of. Of course, we talked also about those faith values of justice. Creation care includes that as well. And we see again and again throughout the Gospels and the Old Testament, this calling to care for who God in Matthew 25 calls the least of these. And of course, we cannot offer water to the thirsty if we are in drought. We cannot offer food to the hungry as easily in famine. Ecological issues are also a part, or caring for the environment is also a part of how we live these broader calls of love for neighbor, through making sure people are fed and well cared for and loved. So I want to make those connections too. And of course, there's just so many connections to be made. The point of all of this is just to say that partnering with the faith community helps environmental movements succeed. We believe that deeply. Like we said, all of this is connected. Environmental issues are connected to our faith values. The faith community has a precedent of creating change. We've done this and we are the people to do this. I mean, I foundationally believe that people of faith and faith leaders are instrumental to this moment ecologically and socially, and maybe the best suited to create the change that we need. I really, really believe that foundationally. And then, of course, also, this is just who we are as people of faith. This isn't my professor at Wake Forest Divinity, Fred Bonson, who you all may know. Fred Bonson wrote many books with Norman Wurzba, who I know has also been a speaker for Rumpel. But he often talked about how, some of us in the church think of creation care as one issue on the potluck of issues that the church might be involved in. So maybe that's not your issue, but you're just going down the potluck table and you're going to pick up something else. I don't even know what it would be, but maybe it's housing or feeding the hungry, and that's really your issue. And Fred's argument was that this issue of caring for creation isn't just a side dish at the potluck. It is a main course. It is instrumental to who we are as people of faith and as Christians. It is in the DNA of our faith. And then secondly, that those issues of caring for the hungry, feeding the hungry, like I said, water to the thirsty, all those other issues that we feel deeply called to are a part of creation care. This is all deeply connected. So recognizing this is instrumental to who we are as people of faith, not just a side dish, as he would say. So ultimately that gets us to where we are, and to who we are. We believe all of this to be true. We see the potential and possibility and role of faith communities in this moment, and we want to help faith communities meet their potential and serve God and others. And so that's the work that we do. We were founded, just a little organizational history in case you don't know it. We were founded as WNC Green Congregations back in 2012. We became the Creation Care Alliance in 2015 when we joined with Mountain True. Many of you may be familiar with Mountain True in the high country. You all have Andy Hill. He's your Watauga River keeper. Lots of folks out there doing this good work, and we work with them in partnership as a program of Mountain True. So we're the faith-based program of Mountain True. Our geographic focus is the Southern Blue Ridge. Initially, we were just Western North Carolina. Now we also work in some northern parts of Georgia. So just an idea that we're also expanding into the lines of watersheds and not just state lines. If we're doing work in one watershed and it crosses a state line, that work is connected. And so we try to honor that. And it is our mission to bring people of faith from across the Southern Blue Ridge together to care for God's creation by loving our planet and our neighbors. So our work is really, our hope is that we can be a communication strategy for you and also for other environmental programs in the area. We want to help people know what's going on so that they can be a part of it. So that's a primary role that we play for congregations and also for my coworkers at Mountain True, being able to share what's going on, what's happening with congregations and vice versa. We're a tool for outreach. We are a tool for organizing. We've been working really, really closely with many congregations and other community centers in Buncombe County to address single-use plastics, and also in Haywood County to address single-use plastics. And my role in that is to organize people of faith and congregations in going to city council meetings, getting the word out with businesses, and being a part of that good work. And we're a tool for empowerment. Our hope is that we can help empower people on the ground to do the work that their community needs. So you see here some pictures of ways that we've done that. There's that symposium you all were at on the far right. And then a gathering we had at Water Rock Knob on the Parkway. A gathering a couple years ago of many of our members. I think we had in that picture in the bottom center, I think we had maybe 18 congregations represented, which was really wonderful. Many denominations, and then a picture of me at a climate march in Raleigh. So all of that is to say, I've shared the why, I've shared the what, and here's the how. How are we doing this work, right? We do this work through advocacy opportunities. We strive to share, policy needs and laws that are in need of support, or, calls to our congressmen and legislators and, various opportunities for that. In the past, we have done lobbying trips, which we want to start again. And so if any of you are interested in ever, going to Raleigh and speaking with those who've been elected in our state legislature about this work, let me know and I can put you on that interest list. As I said, we offer organizational support. We offer educational events. An upcoming educational event I want to put on your radar is this one, Plastic Jesus, Real Faith in a Synthetic World. This is a webinar that we're going to be having on March 12th, highlighting some of that plastic work that I told you about, opportunities to address single-use plastics, both as an issue of health, human health. We know that our bodies now, microplastics have been found in the human placenta and breast milk. We are all ingesting an average of 1 credit card's worth of plastic per week via microplastics in the air and water, which is really gross, really gross and disturbing, and certainly bad for us. We don't even know all the implications of that yet. And so there's health concerns here. And then, of course, also plastic is made of fossil fuels. And so, that's also an issue of climate, of addressing, environmental justice. Plastic is often made in Black and brown communities where those communities are poisoned. So we're not saying plastic is bad 100%. Obviously, there are medical, implementations. Plastic can be used for things that are really helpful and needed. But single-use plastic that, is immediately thrown away, that's something that we could do something about. That's something that could really make the world better if we moved away from. So we're going to be talking about ways that you can be involved in that plastic work, and also highlighting a really, really beautiful curricula and resource put together by our friends at Creation Justice Ministries. that ties in how faith and plastic, single-use plastic waste reduction are connected. So I hope that you can make it for that event on March 12th, and I'll share this PowerPoint with you too. And these are all links that you can click, to register and read more about. So you'll have access to that. We also have volunteer opportunities. We've been really trying to work with Mountain True, our partners on the ground, because I'm one person. I live in Bakersville typically, and Bakersville's about an hour 15 from Boone, and maybe an hour and 30 minutes from Blowing Rock. But to really be able to offer grassroots on the ground opportunities, we need more staff ultimately, and that's not something that we have yet. We are striving to fundraise for that. We're doing what we can to have more on the ground staff. But at this moment, we rely on volunteers, and we rely on our colleagues at Mountain True to help us have those on the ground opportunities. So you have one coming up if you want to get your hands dirty, or if any of your youth want to get your hands dirty. There's a trash trout cleanup coming up on March 8th. Trash trouts are these great contraptions that go into your rivers and catch plastic and tires and all kinds of things that you wouldn't think would be in the river, but are. We have pulled some weird stuff out of the river. And so that's an opportunity to help those folks out and get to know people who are on the ground taking care of your water. So that's an opportunity. You can learn more about that there, March 8th. Obviously, we also want to do coalition and network building. I'm going to talk more about on the next slide. We want to help you get to know your neighbors doing this work. So obviously, Mountain True is one of those people. And we work closely with App Voices, who have an office in Boone, and Blue Ridge Women in Agriculture. And there are lots of people that we can help connect you to. But like I said, I'll talk about that more in a moment. We offer preaching and presenting. Preaching is something that I love to do, and happy to, if it's helpful, offer that kind of theological connection to this work, which can be helpful to our ministers. It also can, I think, sometimes take a little bit of the pressure off of someone who already has to write a lot of sermons. Every single week they're having to write a sermon. And so if someone else can come and help, that's often helpful and appreciated. And then presenting like this is one of the things that we do for folks, and are happy to do it. I also offer preaching support. So if I can't be physically with a congregation, but they're looking for theological resources for proclamation to do that culture shift work that we talked about earlier, I can help connect you to either local retired clergy who might be able to help you out, or just to some great resources for kind of a green reading of the Bible, a green hermeneutic, as we might say in the divinity school world. There's a great podcast actually put together by some of my friends called the Green Lectionary Podcast. So if you wanna dive in yourself, you could do that with them. Congregational consulting is something that's new. So this is one of the things I wanted to highlight for all of you. This was not happening when Scott was director, and this is a new resource that we're offering. So we are available to really walk through our toolkit with you, to sort of do an asset-based community development assessment to help you think about, what are your gifts as a congregation? Where are your strengths? And then where does that align with the needs of your localized community? And that is something that we're offering everyone, but really the deep dive is something that we're going to be offering our covenant partners. And so we have a new model of partnership for congregations, and we've revamped our covenant partnerships. So I'll talk about that more as well. Our toolkit has also been updated and is about to be released just in a couple weeks. So that's exciting. And that's our primary kind of resource for you if you say, hey, our congregation wants to work on food issues. The kind of most basic and a very helpful thing I like to think that you could do is go to that toolkit and click on food and see some starting opportunities and some ways to grow that ministry within creation care. So that toolkit is sort of a first step. And then, like I said, we're available to walk with you through it. Lastly, we do what I would call movement revitalization work, which is helping individuals who are activists, or congregational lay people, people who are striving to do this work, who care deeply about the environment. I mean, not necessarily striving to do this work full time or in their jobs. Some of our folks are, but just people who want to live in a way that aids God's creation. They know about these issues and they want to take care of the world and take care of each other. And they're maybe feeling a little bit hopeless or a little bit overwhelmed. I think overwhelm is very easy when we think about environmental issues. And so some of what we do is trying to help folks get re-inspired, re-empowered, feel less alone, and feel that they have a community to do this work. So we do that in a variety of ways through, getting outside together, remembering why we do this work and how we love the world and feeling centered, book studies, retreats like the symposium that we just had, and eco grief work to help folks work through those emotions of maybe sadness or anxiety around environmental issues. If you're interested in eco grief work, we have an upcoming training and circle that will begin on March 21st with some of our partners leading. There is a cost associated, but we also have scholarships available. So just let me know if you're interested and I'd be happy to share more about that. So this is the slide I made really specifically for you so that you could see kind of, what is truly available, not just to everyone, but to your particular community. So Reverend Anna Shine, who I know that some of you know at St. Luke's Boone, is the primary contact point for the Creation Care Alliance in the High Country. She is on our steering team. She's someone who I talk to a lot. And so if you're looking for Creation Care support, Anna Shine is someone who you should know, who you should feel like you can give a call. And I know that she would love to be doing more in the High Country. If you're really feeling excited and like you want to do this work, I know that Anna would love to have your help. So I know that, she is also one person who is who has a lot on her plate and many jobs. And I know that anyone who really was feeling called to Creation Care and who wanted to work alongside her, that she would really welcome that. So if you're interested in a deeper role, I can, set up a coffee with you and Anna, and we could talk about what Creation Care in the High Country looks like and how we could be more involved together. Here are some of the congregations that have been involved with the Creation Care Alliance. So Temple of the High Country has been involved with our work and has come to our events. St. Mary of the Hills, right across from you all, has been involved with our work. Obviously, you guys, First United Methodist Church Boone, St. James Episcopal Church in Lenoir had a very large contingent that came to our symposium, and they're really excited. So they've got some good folks that want to be doing this work just down the mountain from all of you. High Country UCC in Vilas, just a little bit past Boone, on your way toward Tennessee. That congregation is over there, and they have been very involved. And St. Luke's Episcopal Church in Boone. And both High Country UCC and St. Luke's are covenant partners, and that's why they're yellow. So they have really been leading in this work. They've partnered with us. But all of these congregations have a desire to be doing this work and have made that known and have come to our events. And so if you're looking for congregations to partner with, these are absolutely congregations that want to be doing that work with you. And I know for a fact that there are more than this too. We just don't know about them yet. So that's also work that we can do together, is to find more people who want to be doing this work in more communities. But you do have a pretty good contingent right there, some great folks. Another thing you can do, I really do encourage you to utilize Mountain Shrew opportunities. Get to know Andy if you don't know him. I'm happy to set up an introductory phone call. We also have Hannah Woodburn, who does water quality work through Mountain Shrew in the High Country. She's a wonderful person to know and to work with and work alongside. And then we also have Emma Kreider, in our Mountain True office who does work around native and non-native invasive species and plants. And she's available to help congregations think about invasive species audits on their property, or how they can put some native plants into their property to create some spaces for wildflowers, for wildlife, for pollinators. She would love to talk to you, and she is, when you meet her, you'll know what I mean, but she is truly a light in the world. She is one of the most just generally jovial people that I've ever been around. So she's a real joy to be with. You can also become a covenant partner, and we would love to have you become a covenant partner. I'm going to talk. I'm almost done too, so just rest knowing that you have time for questions. But we'd love to have you do that. I'm going to show you that in a moment. And then obviously utilize our toolkit. We do have a lot of good resources. So I'm going to show you our new website is being launched next month. And I'm really excited about this new website because we've needed it for a long time. But this new website is where our updated toolkit is, where our updated covenant partner work is, and it's not done yet. So there might be some clunky places, but I wanted to give you a sense of what is about to be available to you. So it looks so much better than the old website. If you've been on the old website, this is an improvement. If you haven't, just trust me. But this shows you one of the things that we're going to be doing. We have this map now for our covenant partners. And so this shows you where partner congregations are in Western North Carolina and the Southern Blue Ridge. You can find a congregation near you. Our hope is that this geolocator tool helps people who are looking for congregations that share their values find them. We want to help you, serve your community, build your membership, build support of this work locally. And so this tool will take folks who click on these little red dots to the website of the congregation with information about their creation care work, who they can get in contact with, but also just your worship times and your services, and how they can just become a part of your community. We also, just a bit about covenant partnership. If you go to join CCA, here's the way that you can kind of, ask to find out about covenant partnership. Here's that map again. But this explains what covenant partnership is. Now, historically, for us, covenant partnership was really kind of an exchange of funds. It was really, a way for congregations to say, hey, we want to support you financially. We want to be partners in this work, and we're going to help you make this work possible, which, of course, was deeply needed because we are a nonprofit and we need financial support. But ultimately, we wanted there to be a little bit more of a give and take, a little bit more of a symbiotic relationship, to use the language of our ecology, meaning that we were helping each other, that we were also offering something to you. And so what covenant partnership means now, we see that covenant partnership is a symbiotic relationship between your faith community and us, the Creation Care Alliance. We need each other to build a more beautiful, sustainable, and just world. And that's exactly what we want this to be about. So covenant partners are aligned with our mission. Covenant partners support our efforts through an annual donation, a yearly commitment, contributing what they are able to on a sliding scale of $100 to $1,000. And covenant partners are committed to growing their creation care ministries with our support. So some of those benefits that we offer, obviously, when you join as a covenant partner, you join a network of local faith communities who are committed to this work. Your monetary support allows you to know that you're helping, do more than you can do as an individual community. You are supporting other congregations and our work with those congregations. So you're getting a big bang for your buck. But you're also growing your community and your reach. We will offer you the opportunity to publicize your events and creation care related activities on our community calendar, which reaches 1,200 people monthly. We will publicize your events in our social media and our monthly newsletter to go out to your region. We will include you in our online map that I've shown you to try to help people find you and get involved. You will have access to our consulting services that I talked about. Our staff is available to brainstorm, lead workshops, or present in your community and walk you through our toolkit relating our resources to your specific context. Again, this is some asset-based community development, meaning that we will help you figure out what you're good at and then where those skills could be used in your broader community and help you make those connections. And then also, we're excited to offer discounts to events like the symposium and some designated Mountain True events for our Covenant Partnership members. So individually, you would get a discount to some Mountain True outings, but also to the symposium and to other things that we do. A lot of this is kind of typical advocacy, ways that you can show up, our community events. This is where you would submit your event here as a Covenant partner, and then we would approve that event. Our About Us page, this just, again, talks a bit about what we do, why we do it. But we are really excited. I am really excited, if you can tell, about the way that I think that we can be more supportive to you and help you do this work. So the last little thing I just want to offer is ultimately, we have all of this and we want to give it to you, and we want to support your work. As I summarize your 4 weeks of thinking about creation care and how can we help you do this work on the ground in the ways that you're feeling called. And then also, you guys might have some ideas that we haven't thought of yet. So any ways that we can support you that we haven't thought of, I want to hear that too. But thank you for having me, and I want to open it for questions. Yeah.
Thank you, Sarah. Thanks for being with us today. If you're on Zoom, you can either unmute if you have a question or a comment, or you can put it in the chat. We can manage the Zoom chat as well if you prefer to type your question or comment. And obviously, if you're in here, just blurt it out.
I feel like I need to go back through this whole presentation, and I didn't bring my notebook today, and I just felt like there's so much that I wanted to jot down and follow up on, both with our committee of creation care folks, but also with you. And so you'll definitely be hearing from me or Misty.
Yeah. Great. Pretty soon. Love that. I'm happy that we can talk. And I am happy to come to Blowing Rock and Boone. I mean, anytime. What I try to do is, schedule my trips so that I can meet with multiple congregations and, multiple partners when I do travel. It's that tension of needing to be physically with people, wanting to be physically with people, also not wanting to use more oil and gas than we need to. And so trying to be smart about when we travel and how we travel. But also I do want to get to know you all better. And I know that often means that we should meet face to face too. So if we want to schedule a time for that, I will figure out how to schedule some time with some other folks too and get up there. Let me know.
Yeah, I think it'd be great if we could connect with UCC and St. Luke's and Anna, some of the groups up here and the congregations here that are doing this work already, and seeing how we can combine and conquer.
Yeah, absolutely.
We are partnering more and more with St. Mary of the Hills, since they are right across Main Street. Do you happen to remember off the top of your head whether any of their folks attended this year's symposium?
I will have to look at the, no one who came up to me and said, I'm from St. Mary of the Hills. And so without looking at the database and seeing if anybody identified themselves from St. Mary's, I'll have to look at that, but I'm not sure. I know that some of them had been with us in the past. And I preached with them last fall and really enjoyed that. And so they certainly have some folks that are excited.
Yeah, that's good to know.
Mhm.
We're partnering with them to do outdoor stations of the cross this year. So
Great.
it's good collaboration happening now that will hopefully continue even after
Awesome.
Stations of the
Yeah,
Cross.
it's gonna be a permanent installation across both campuses.
Oh,
And so
beautiful.
maybe the next time you're up here, they'll
Hmm.
be nice and we can show them to you,
Great.
show you that program that we're developing.
Yeah, they're St. Eugene's Catholic Church, which is one of our covenant partners in Asheville, does a really beautiful outdoor Stations of the Cross every year. And so you're in good company.
Sarah, I have a question.
Uh-huh.
See, when we learned about Creation Care Alliance a number of years ago, I was really surprised that, first of all, your organization exists and that it's embedded within an environmental organization.
Mhm.
How unusual is that arrangement nationwide?
I think I think the fact that we are embedded within a secular environmental organization is relatively unusual. There are many, more than you would expect, faith-based environmental organizations out there.
Right.
But many of them, are faith-based through and through. They're, like in my previous position with North Carolina Interfaith Power and Light, we were a program of the North Carolina Council of Churches, obviously, a faith-based organization. And then also we were a state affiliate of a national, Interfaith Power and Light, faith-based organization doing climate work. And so that model is much more common. The idea that, this is the environmental program of a faith-based organization. The idea that we are the faith-based program of an environmental organization, flipping that, is less modeled. The only and I don't think that we. I think there probably are other examples, but the only other example I'm familiar with is Resourceful Communities, which is a program of the Conservation Fund. The Conservation Fund is a secular environmental group. Resourceful Communities is not only a faith-based program. They work with folks who are not faith-based, and they don't only work within the faith-based world, but they're pretty heavily pretty heavily religiously affiliated. They do a lot of work, particularly with Methodist congregations, and most of their staff are clergy. And so that's sort of the other group I know of that has a similar model. But yeah, we're not very common. And I will say that for me, I find it incredibly hopeful, and beautiful that we are, my coworkers are hard scientists. I work, in collaboration with forest ecologists and biologists and environmental lawyers, and people who are doing this work often from kind of a hard science or data or legislative perspective. And they not only have invited me in as the person whose work is spirit led and story led, and lives a little bit more on the art side of my brain than the hard data side of my brain. They have invited me in and validated the need for story and heart. And in my life, and I think we see this in the world, um, unfortunately, the hard facts are not what convince people to change. I wish that they were, because we would be a lot further along on these issues if they were, because we know the facts, we know the numbers. But what we often need to change is a story to go along with that data, and, a face to put to that statistic. And that's what my work can help do. And it's just really been, and in addition to that, organizing and gathering the power and the potential of faith communities to lead in this work. It's really, really lovely that we're all hanging out and doing it together. I think that's how we're going to get stuff done. So I feel like it's a model that should be replicated more, but isn't currently.
One other
But
question. What year did
uh-huh.
you graduate with your SD degree at App State?
2014, 10 years ago.
My son Brian, graduated from that program, and when would that have been, Misty? 2012, maybe?
Okay. So we were maybe there at the same time.
Probably so.
That's great. I was a extra weird one in that program because I did the Bachelor of Arts in Sustainable Development, which was like the strangest version of that degree. In that, if your parents are asking you, what are you going to do with this degree? They're really asking you, what are you going to do with it when it's a BA? A little bit less clear. Many of my friends were in the, Bachelor of Science, the agroecology focused, it was going to be a farmer. I'm going to be a scientist. And I was like, I'm just going to know a lot about it. From all these different angles, I'm just going to hang in the history department, the anthropology department, the political science department. And I also, of course, did have to take some hard science and some other classes, but it's a willy-nilly kind of path. And I think I graduated with a really beautiful and holistic picture of these issues from all those different angles that translated beautifully to going to divinity school. And then thinking about Wake Forest Divinity has a program called the Food, Health, and Ecological Wellbeing Program. And so when I went to Wake Forest, I got my Master's of Divinity, but with a concentration in religious leadership and ecology. And that was the Sustainable Development Program was such a phenomenal foundation for that program. So I'm a big fangirl of the SD department. I will wave their flag forever. Love them. Good people.
A lot of those students in my classes.
Oh yeah, what do you teach?
Physical geography.
Oh, well, I loved the geography department. I also hung out with you guys. I was very into the geography department. Yeah, loved it. I took one of my favorite classes was the geography of Appalachia. I really enjoyed that class. It's a great class. Yeah.
Sarah, will you let us have a copy of your slides?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yep.
Yeah, we just so enjoyed what you said, and it was so pithy. It's hard to remember. I wish I'd have brought my notebook and copied it down, but it was just too much to get to. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, I think this was a way to end the 4-week study because it helps us look forward. We've learned a lot this month, and now is the time to put that together and chart a path forward. So I think what you've given us today was the perfect conclusion to this 4-week study to help us think about what happens next.
Yeah.
So great. Thanks for giving us a lot of resources and a lot of things to think about. Our committee's getting together next Sunday to plan for the rest of 2024. So thank you for setting it up for us to meet next week and think about our next steps.
Great. Wonderful. And I will, if you're signed up for our newsletter, you'll get a little notification that says, our new website has launched and our new toolkit. And so just be on the lookout for that throughout March. We've been very hesitant to decide when in March we're launching it. We just keep saying March because that feels safe. Like that gives us some wiggle room. But an email will come out your way and we will be very loud about it when it happens because we've been working on it for a long time. So
congratulations.
Oh gosh, thank you. Websites are a whole thing.
Yes. Well, Sarah, any other questions before we let Sarah get back to helping her friend with her brand new baby?
Such a sweet little baby.
Well, Sarah, thank you so much. And
thank you.
Like we've said, you've given us a lot to think about, and we will be back in touch with you.
Good. Well, have a wonderful day, wonderful snowy day. And hopefully we'll see you soon.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everybody.